The steak knife was still cold in my hand when my phone buzzed. That kind of buzz that tells you something just changed, and not for the better. I was sitting at table 7, right next to General Neil Foster, CEO of Grinnell Defense Systems, the guy whose logistics contracts kept half the defense industry running. My name's Drew Holloway. I'm 52. Old enough to know better, young enough to still give a damn. And until about 8 minutes ago, I thought I still had a job. The ballroom was polished granite and guys in expensive suits. The kind of place where deals get made over whiskey and everyone pretends the shrimp cocktail is worth $40. I'd been coming to this industry awards dinner for 9 years straight, helped plan the seating arrangements for 5 of them. This time, nobody asked me about seating. Nobody asked me about anything. I'd spent 12 years at Holloway Strategic Solutions. Yeah, same last name. Pure coincidence, but it used to make people remember me. Senior Operations Director, which sounds boring until you realize I was the guy who made sure military supply chains didn't collapse when some contractor screwed up. I was the one who fixed the fuel cell disaster in 2014 that almost cost Grinnell a Pentagon contract. I was the one who wrote the continuity protocols that became industry standard. But apparently, I was also the guy who didn't fit Austin Price's vision for the future. Austin was our new VP of Digital Transformation. Yeah, one of those guys. 34 years old, never worked a day in actual operations, but had an MBA from some online program and a vocabulary full of words like synergy and AI optimization. He'd been with us for 7 months. 7 months of watching him dismantle everything that actually worked while pitching automation solutions to problems that didn't exist. The warning signs started small. Charlie Abbott from finance disappeared one Monday. Just gone. No goodbye email, nothing. His desk cleaned out over the weekend like he'd never existed. Charlie was a good guy, divorced dad, always had photos of his kids taped to his monitor. One day he's there, next day he's not. Then Ramon Torres from IT got restructured 2 weeks later. Austin called it streamlining for post-pandemic efficiency. I called it what it was, getting rid of anyone who remembered how things actually worked. My access to the SLA reports vanished next. Those were the service-level agreements I'd reviewed every Friday since 2010. Back when Obama was still in office, I was already running those numbers. Suddenly, one Friday, access denied. When I asked IT about it, I got a canned response about revised security protocols. I was the senior director. What security protocols? That's when I went to my workshop at home and pulled up the backup files. Not the ones on the company cloud. The ones I'd kept on a hard drive ever since my Navy days taught me that you always keep your own records. I'd learned that in logistics support for the fleet, officers came and went, but the guy with the complete maintenance logs never got blamed when something broke. Took me 20 minutes to find what I needed. The contract. The big one. Signed back in 2010 when Grinnell almost lost a major supply deal because their project manager ghosted mid-deployment. After that mess, they insisted that anyone critical to operations had to be locked into the contract. Legal protection for continuity. I remember the day we signed it. March 2010, conference room that smelled like burnt coffee and nervous executives. The general counsel back then, a woman named Patricia who didn't suffer fools, looked at me across the table and said, "You're the one who actually holds this house together. We're putting that in writing." Clause 16.3. Essential Continuity Personnel Protocol. Clear as day. The following individuals are designated as essential personnel. Removal from this project, whether through resignation or termination, shall constitute a breach of agreement unless pre-approved by both parties or replaced through mutual written consent. My name was first on that list. Typed out, dated, signed by 3 executives who actually understood what operational continuity meant. I printed that page, highlighted the clause in yellow, and tucked it into my jacket pocket. Then I kept showing up to work like nothing was wrong. Kept doing my job. Kept my head down. Waited. Austin never looked at me during meetings anymore. Didn't acknowledge my existence. Started talking about predigital mindset and legacy system dependencies like they were diseases. Pitched his AI oversight platform that was supposed to replace manual processes. By manual processes, he meant me. He meant the 12 years of institutional knowledge that kept Grinnell's supply chains running through 3 defense budgets and 2 overseas deployments. So yeah, I knew it was coming, just didn't know when. The dinner tonight was supposed to be a celebration. Grinner had just secured another 5-year contract extension. Foster specifically texted me to make sure I was at his table. "You're the reason we survived that 2014 backlog," he'd said. "Don't think I've forgotten." Foster was old school Army, retired colonel, 63 years old, the kind of guy who still believed loyalty meant something. We'd never served together, but we'd worked the same logistics channels during the drawdown years. He knew who actually did the work and who just took credit for it. I was cutting into an overcooked piece of beef when my phone lit up. A text from Austin Price. No call, no meeting, just a text, effective immediately. "Your position is being eliminated as part of Digital Transformation Initiative. Clean out your desk, Monday. HR will contact you regarding final arrangements. No preamble. No thanks for 12 years. Just eliminated, like I was a line item on a spreadsheet." I read it twice. Felt something click into place. Not anger exactly, just clarity. I didn't say anything. Just angled my phone toward Foster. He was mid-sip of his scotch. He paused, read the message, then set his glass down with the kind of precision that told me he was thinking several moves ahead. "Clause 16.3, he said quietly. "Still active?" I nodded. He pulled out his phone, started typing with his thumbs, deliberate and unhurried. Then he showed me the screen before sending. "To Austin Price, you just violated our master service agreement. Essential personnel protocol breach. Grenor Defense Systems will be filing formal complaint. See you in court." He looked at me, one eyebrow raised. Last chance to back out. I didn't blink. He hit send. Somewhere across that ballroom, Austin's phone buzzed in his pocket. He didn't check it right away, too busy laughing at his own story, surrounded by junior executives who didn't know the floor had just disappeared under their feet. Foster picked up his scotch again, took another sip. "How's the beef?" "Overcooked," I said. "Everything is these days." Austin finally looked at his phone about 10 minutes later. I watched from across the room as his face changed. Not dramatic, just a tightening around the jaw. The kind of reaction you get when you realize you just made a very expensive mistake. He stood up quick, excused himself from his circle and headed toward the lobby. Walked fast, phone pressed to his ear. He didn't come back. His chair sat empty for the rest of the night, napkins still folded, wine untouched. A few people noticed, glanced around confused, but nobody asked questions. That's corporate events for you. Everyone pretends everything's fine until it's not. The dessert came, some kind of chocolate thing with raspberry sauce that the kitchen had torched too long, burned on top, raw in the middle. I ate every bite. Foster and I didn't talk about it, didn't need to. We talked about his grandson's college choice, about whether the Packers had a shot this year, about the new supply chain regulations coming out of the Pentagon, normal stuff. But I could feel the ripples starting, phones lighting up around the room, whispered conversations near the bar, quick exits to the hallway. Something had shifted, and the people who mattered were starting to notice. I drove home around 11, took the long way, windows down, radio off, just me and the road and the knowledge that by Monday morning everything was going to be different. That weekend stretched out quiet. Saturday I didn't even check my work email. Didn't look at my phone except to text my brother about bringing Brady's bookshelf by next weekend. The kid was struggling with calculus but doing fine otherwise. Good kid. Reminded me of myself at that age before the Navy taught me that most problems have solutions if you're willing to do the work. Sunday I spent in the workshop. The cedar chest I'd been building for the past month was almost done. I ran the hand plane over the lid one more time, checking for smoothness. The grain was beautiful, tight growth rings, good lumber. This thing would last 50 years if someone took care of it. I wiped off the sawdust and started applying Danish oil. First coat goes on thin, you build it up over time. Can't rush it. There's something satisfying about woodworking. Measure twice, cut once, and the pieces fit. No politics, no buzzwords, just physics and patience. But I knew what was happening. Grenor's legal team didn't take weekends off. Those guys were former JAG officers who treated contract disputes like military operations. They'd be pulling files, reviewing amendments, documenting every communication about essential personnel protocols, building their case brick by brick. By Sunday evening, someone at Holloway Strategic Solutions was getting very nervous. Monday morning I showed up at 8:30, same as always. Pressed shirt, work boots, coffee thermos. parked in my usual spot, nodded to Jim in security. "Morning, Drew," he said. Looked at me a little too long. Yeah, he knew. I walked through the lobby. The receptionist, Angela, kept her eyes on her computer screen. Didn't look up. That told me everything. The office felt different. People walking past without making eye contact. The morning chatter was gone. It was like everyone knew something bad was in the air and didn't want to be near it when it landed. My desk looked the same. Computer still on. Photos of Brady's high school graduation still pinned to the cubicle wall. The coffee mug Ramon had given me 3 years ago, the one that said I turned coffee into logistics. Small things that marked 12 years in one place. At 8:37, a kid from facilities showed up. Mark, maybe 25, holding an empty cardboard box and looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Hey, Drew," he mumbled, not meeting my eyes. "They asked me to help you, collect your things." I pulled out the box I'd kept under my desk, the one I used to rotate seasonal decorations. "I've got it covered. Look, man, I'm just..." He shifted his weight. "They told me to..." "I know," I said. "Not your fault. Let's get this done." He looked relieved. "Thanks. Took me 5 minutes. Phone charger. One photo of Brady. The stress ball shaped like a gear. My Leatherman multi-tool that had fixed more equipment than IT ever had. That was it. I didn't take the industry awards from 2016 and 2018. Didn't take the thank you plaques from Grenor and 3 other clients. Let them keep their hollow trophies. Mark carried the box for me to the lobby. Good kid. Probably scared he'd be next. At the security desk, I handed Jim my badge. He took it slow, like he was handling something fragile. "They said someone would walk you out," Jim said quietly. "Not necessary. You take care, Jim." "You too, Drew. You too." The parking lot was too bright, too quiet. I got in my truck, set the box on the passenger seat, and sat there for 10 seconds. Breathed. Then my phone buzzed. Foster. 9:02 a.m. Stand by. Stakes just changed. That was it. 4 words. But I knew what they meant. I drove home, made fresh coffee, and went back to the workshop. The cedar chest needed 3 more coats of oil over the next week. I had time now. By noon, my phone started buzzing with texts from people I used to work with, carefully worded questions. "Hey, what happened? And are you okay?" And, "Did you hear about the lawsuit?" I didn't reply. Wasn't my story to tell anymore. By Tuesday morning, the whispers had turned into facts. Grenor had officially flagged my termination as a contract violation. Their compliance department had raised concerns with Pentagon procurement. Someone in their legal department had dug up an email chain showing Austin had made unilateral staffing changes without consulting anyone. Not legal, not HR, not the board. Just decided one day that I was legacy system dependency that needed optimizing. The email chain was brutal. Austin to HR, process termination for Andrew Holloway effective immediately. HR back to Austin. Please confirm this has been reviewed per standard protocols. Austin's response, my authority, move forward. No mention of contracts, no mention of client agreements, just authority he thought he had. By Wednesday, I heard through back channels that Holloway Strategic Solutions had tried to claim Clause 16.3 was outdated, that the personnel designation no longer applied under current operational scope. Their lawyers sent a 14-page memo to Grenor calling it contextual and non-binding under evolved partnership parameters. Grenor's legal response was one sentence, "See you in discovery." That's when the panic really started. Thursday morning, an internal email leaked. Subject line, urgent. Who approved terminating Holloway? The thread had 47 people CC'd, no replies, just silence, and the digital equivalent of everyone staring at their shoes. By Friday afternoon, I was in my workshop applying the second coat of oil to the cedar chest when my brother called. "You see the news?" he asked. "What news?" "Your old company's stock dropped 13 points today. Something about a Pentagon contract dispute." I dipped the brush in the oil. Smooth, even strokes. "Huh. That's rough. You had anything to do with that?" "I just showed up and did my job for 12 years, I said. What happened after that wasn't up to me." He laughed. "Okay, Drew. Okay. Brady wants to know when his bookshelf will be ready. 2 more weeks. Tell him I'm building it to last." The following Monday, Grenor filed the lawsuit. Not threatened, not negotiated. Filed. $47 million in damages for breach of essential personnel protocols, immediate operational disruption, and projected losses across 5 active military contracts. The number hit the industry like a bomb. It wasn't just the dollar amount. Defense contractors deal with big numbers all the time. It was the fact that the breach was so stupidly preventable, so embarrassingly reckless. Austin Price had fired the one person explicitly protected by contract without bothering to read that contract. By Tuesday, the story was circulating through every defense logistics network from Virginia to California. I got a call from an old Navy buddy, Tom, who worked procurement at a competitor firm. "Drew, what the hell happened over there?" he asked. "New VP thought I was obsolete," I said. Turned out the contract disagreed. Tom laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Man, we all saw this coming. These tech guys show up thinking they can optimize everything with algorithms. They don't get that some things require actual humans who know what they're doing. Yeah, well, now they're learning. Expensive lesson. Hey, you looking for work? We could use someone who actually understands continuity planning." "Already got something lined up," I said. "But thanks." Inside Holloway Strategic Solutions, the panic was spreading. HR logs were getting pulled, email trails were being scrubbed, Slack channels went read-only. Every executive was trying to figure out who'd signed off on my termination. The problem was simple. Nobody had. Austin had acted alone. Sent one email to HR saying my authority, moved forward and assumed that was enough. Didn't consult legal, didn't consult the board, didn't check if there were consequences. He tried to spin it. Sent an all-hands email claiming he was fully empowered to make strategic personnel decisions aligned with our digital transformation mandate. Said the contract clause was outdated and didn't apply to evolved operational frameworks. But HR wasn't buying it, legal definitely wasn't buying it, and the board was sharpening their knives. Wednesday morning, Austin got placed on administrative leave. That's corporate speak for "we're building the case to fire you, but we need a few days to make sure you can't sue us back." His office was cleaned out overnight, parking badge deactivated. They didn't even let him send a goodbye message on Slack. One day he's the VP of Digital Transformation, next day he's a ghost. I heard his assistant found his motivational posters in the trash. The ones that said "disrupt or die" and "innovation waits for no one." Ironic. By Thursday, the company's general counsel quietly resigned, a guy named Philip Glenn who'd been there 8 years. His official statement said he was pursuing other opportunities to better align with personal goals. Translation: his name was on too many CC'd emails where people had asked if terminating me was legal, and he'd never responded. The stock dropped another 8 points that day, total of 21 points in 2 weeks. Investors were panicking. A West Coast client canceled their contract renewal, citing concerns about operational stability and leadership judgment. Someone in PR tried to call it an unfortunate misalignment of internal protocols. That's corporate speak, for we hit ourselves in the face with a rake and the whole neighborhood watched. Friday afternoon, I got a package. No return address. Inside was a printed email thread, the pages still warm from the printer. Someone had leaked it to me. The thread was from 3 months ago. Subject: SLA review, access changes. Austin to IT, remove Andrew Holloway from all SLA reporting systems, transitioning these reviews to automated oversight. IT back to Austin. Please confirm this change has been cleared with contracts and the client. Austin: not necessary, this is an internal efficiency measure. Ramon Torres, before he got fired, had replied, Drew Holloway is listed as essential personnel on the Grenor contract. Recommend legal review before changing his access. Austin's response: legacy designation, no longer applicable. Proceed with access removal. That was it. Ramon had warned him. It had warned him. Austin just didn't care. I set the papers down and went back to the workshop. The cedar chest was done, oil cured and beautiful. I started on Brady's bookshelf. Oak, solid construction, dovetail joints on the corners. The kind of thing that would outlast cheap particle board furniture by decades. Measure twice, cut once. Pay attention to the grain. Don't rush the process. Things Austin Price had never learned. The following Wednesday, I got a text from Foster. Lunch next week. My treat. We should talk. I smiled. Typed back. Wednesday work? Done. Mitchell's Bistro, 12:30. Mitchell's was the place we'd used for a logistics summit back in 2012. Small, quiet, decent food. Foster still remembered they made good steak. I showed up 2 minutes early. He was already there. No tie, reading glasses on, menu in hand. No assistant, no lawyer, no corporate theater. Just two guys having lunch. "Drew," he said, standing up to shake my hand. "Firm grip. Direct eye contact. You look like a man who's been sleeping well." "Workshop keeps me busy," I said. We ordered. He got the ribeye. I got the meatloaf because their meatloaf was honest food made right. We talked normal stuff first. His grandson had picked engineering school over business school. Good choice. My nephew Brady was still struggling with calculus but making it work. "Kid's persistent," I said. "He'll figure it out." "Persistence matters more than talent most of the time," Foster said. Then he set down his fork and got to business. "I'm offering you a position," he said. "Chief Continuity Officer. You define the role, the scope, the hours. I don't need someone to look good in presentations. I need someone who keeps the machine running when everyone else is panicking." I took a bite of meatloaf. Let him wait while I chewed. "What happened to your current continuity officer?" He smiled. "We're hoping to create the position with you." He slid a folder across the table. 6 pages, clean format, no legal maze, just clear terms and a salary that was 40% higher than what I'd been making. Not because they were desperate, because that's what the job was worth. "Take it home if you want," he said. I shook my head, pulled out my own paper. The old contract from 2010, still folded, clause 16.3 still highlighted in yellow. I laid it flat between us. "Keep this," I said, "in case your next VP forgets to read the fine print." Foster picked it up careful like it was a historical document, studied it for a moment, then he folded it and put it in his jacket pocket. "Noted." I flipped back to his offer sheet. Everything looked right except one thing. I pulled out my pen. 2 conditions, I said, crossing out a line. "First, don't put legacy anywhere in my title. I'm not a museum piece." Done. "Second, when the time comes, I pick my own replacement. I train them right, and I hand it off my way." He blinked, then grinned. "Already planning your exit?" "Always have a backup plan," I said. "Navy taught me that. We didn't toast, no dramatic handshake, just 2 professionals making a deal that made sense." I signed, he countersigned as witness. I left the old contract on the table. It had done its job. The news about Holloway Strategic Solutions hit the Wall Street Journal on a Thursday morning. 3rd paragraph of an article about vendor mismanagement in defense contracting. The company's name right there in bold. Holloway Strategic Solutions terminated by Grenor Defense Systems following breach of essential personnel protocols. The stock dropped again. Analysts started calculating long-term losses around $285 million once you factored in everything. The lawsuit itself, lost contracts, failed audits, clients quietly reviewing their partnerships and deciding to take their business elsewhere. Inside the company, it was full chaos. The CFO tried calling it a mutual disengagement in a press release, but nobody was buying it. You can't mutually disengage when the other party is suing you for $47 million and telling the industry exactly why. Austin Price disappeared completely. His LinkedIn went dark. Profile deleted, connections wiped, like he'd never existed in the professional world. I heard through back channels he'd moved to Arizona, probably telling some other company how to optimize their human capital without bothering to check the contracts first. Good luck with that. Holloway Strategic Solutions survived, technically. They settled with Grenor for an undisclosed amount, which meant it was big enough to hurt but small enough to avoid bankruptcy. Brought in a new CEO, rebranded as HS Logistics, spent a fortune on PR trying to rebuild their reputation. Last I heard, they're doing okay. Not great, but okay. They'll be paying off that settlement for years. I started at Grenor the first Monday in May. They gave me a corner office with windows that actually opened. Real windows, not the sealed kind that make you feel like you're in a terrarium. My first week was mostly meetings, getting to know the team, reviewing systems. Foster introduced me to the leadership team as the guy who's going to make sure we don't step on any more landmines. Got a few laughs. Everyone knew the story by then. The work was familiar but cleaner. No bureaucratic nonsense. No meetings about having meetings, just operational continuity, supply chain integrity, and logistics planning that actually mattered. Foster trusted me to do my job without micromanaging. Novel concept. One afternoon about 6 weeks in, a package showed up at my desk. No return address, no note. Inside was a frame. Black walnut, clean lines, good craftsmanship. Behind the glass was page 4 of the old 2010 contract, clause 16.3, highlighted in faded yellow. My name's still there. Andrew D. Holloway, essential personnel. I set it on the shelf behind my desk, next to the photo of Brady at his high school graduation. Every now and then, someone would come in for a meeting and notice it. "What's that?" they'd ask. "Reminder to read the fine print," I'd say. Usually got a laugh. 3 months in, I hired someone new. Rita Morales, 34 years old, former Army logistics sergeant. She'd been stuck in a dead-end position at a civilian contractor for 5 years. Underutilized, underpaid, doing work that should have been 2 pay grades higher. I interviewed her on a Tuesday. She showed up in a business suit, portfolio under her arm, ready to impress. "Tell me about a time you caught a problem nobody else saw," I said. She didn't hesitate. Fort Hood, 2016. Unit was deploying to Kuwait. I noticed the fuel requisition didn't match the vehicle manifest. Everyone said it was fine, just a paperwork error. I dug deeper. Turned out someone had transposed numbers on 6,000 gallons of jet fuel. Wrong delivery location, wrong timeline. Would have grounded aircraft for a week. What did you do? Fixed it. Then documented the process so it couldn't happen again. I hired her on the spot. She started the following Monday. Smart, detail-oriented, asked good questions. Reminded me of myself 20 years ago, before the Navy and the corporate world taught me that most people don't actually want solutions. They just want someone to blame when things go wrong. But Rita was different. She wanted to solve problems. "You're going to do fine here," I told her after her first week. "Just remember, document everything, trust the process, and never assume someone else checked the contract." She laughed. "There a story behind that?" "There's always a story. I worked 4 days a week, Tuesdays through Fridays. Mondays I kept for myself. Workshop time, fishing, sometimes just sitting on the porch with coffee, watching the neighborhood wake up. No alarms, no performance reviews, no Austins. Foster and I had lunch once a month. Usually Mitchell's, sometimes the German place near his house. We'd talk shop, swap stories, complain about Pentagon bureaucracy. It was good. Last weekend, Brady came by to pick up the bookshelf I'd built him. Solid oak, dovetail joints, the kind of construction that would last 30 years easy. Maybe longer if he took care of it. He loaded it into his truck, then stood there looking at it for a minute. "Uncle Drew," he said, "this is really nice. Like, really nice. You take care of it, it'll take care of you," I said. He pulled out his phone, took a photo. "I'm putting this in my apartment, right where I can see it every day." "Good. Reminds you that some things are worth doing right." He drove off, bookshelf secured in the truck bed. I stood in the driveway for a minute, hands in my pockets, watching him go. That evening, Brady texted me a photo. The bookshelf in his apartment, already loaded with engineering textbooks and a framed photo of him and his dad. He'd sent it with 3 words, "Built to last." I texted back, "Damn right. That's the thing about doing good work. It outlasts the people who tried to erase it." I went back to the workshop, started planning the next project, maybe a dining table, something big, something that required patience and precision. The kind of work where you can't cut corners, can't fake it, can't optimize it with an algorithm, just wood and tools and time. Rita was learning fast. In a few years, she'd be ready to take over when I decided I was done, and I would be done eventually. Not yet, but someday. When that time came, I'd hand her the keys, make sure she understood clause 16.3, and walk away clean. Until then, I'd keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep the machine running. The frame with clause 16.3 still sits on my shelf. Some days I look at it and think about Austin, about Charlie and Ramon, about all the people who get erased because someone decided they weren't worth keeping. Other days I don't think about it at all. I just work on my projects, drink my coffee, and appreciate that sometimes the system actually works the way it's supposed to. Not revenge, just consequences. And those are 2 very different things.